On a quiet street in Akron, Ohio, 7 people, 3 adults, 4 children burned alive in their sleep. And it wasn't an accident. This was the second time. The man responsible wasn't a stranger. He wasn't a drifter or some faceless monster. He was their neighbor, his name Stanley Ford. To everyone else, he was just the quiet guy down the street. Kept to himself, didn't cause trouble. Didn't smile much, but behind closed doors he seethed with hatred. And one day he decided to act on it. Let's rewind. April 18, 2016. Akron.A home goes up in flames on Fulton Street. Inside were 65-year-old Lindsay Hines and his 66-year-old wife, Gloria. They had no enemies, no drug ties, no criminal history, just a quiet, retired couple. They were burned alive in their own home. The fire was no accident. Investigators noticed something off. There were 2 separate ignition points, gasoline residue, and no smoke alarms had gone off because someone had cut the wires. No leads, no suspects, no witnesses. The case went cold, but Stanley Ford didn't stop. 1 year later, May 15, 2017, another house just 5 doors down goes up in flames. This time, the victims were a family: Angela Boggs, her husband Eric, and their 5 children. The youngest was just 14 months old. None of them made it out. The house was engulfed before anyone could escape. Firefighters found 7 bodies huddled together, burned beyond recognition. The scene was chaos. The stench of gasoline hung in the air. It was clear this wasn't an accident. And the neighborhood, terrified. 2 house fires, 7 dead the second time. But detectives started to notice a pattern. Both families had no enemies. Both fires had multiple ignition points. Both had disabled smoke detectors. And one man was present at both scenes, standing outside, watching. Stanley Ford. He lived across the street. He'd been the one to call 911 both times. And each time he sounded just a little too calm, just a little too ready. The second time his story had holes. He claimed he saw flames through the window, then called it in. So police took a closer look. They pulled surveillance footage. Neighbors had installed home security cameras after the first fire. One camera showed a shadowy figure walking toward the Boggs home just before 3 a.m., wearing all black, carrying a red gas can. Minutes later, flames, and the figure walked away, calmly. Detectives matched the stride, the build, even the way the figure carried themselves. It pointed to one person, Stanley Ford, but they needed more. They needed a motive, a reason. That's when people started talking. Neighbors started coming forward. Turns out Stanley Ford hated people on his street. He complained constantly: loud music, kids playing outside, too many cars. He wasn't quiet about it either. He had arguments with both families, petty stuff, but enough to build tension. Police dug into his background. No criminal record, no red flags, just bitterness. An old man angry at the world around him. But then came the break: a gas can in his garage, traces of accelerant on his clothes, and on his computer, searches about how fire spreads. Stanley Ford was arrested and charged with 7 counts of aggravated murder and 2 counts of arson. In court, he stayed stone-faced. No emotion, no apology. His defense tried to argue lack of evidence, no clear video, no confession, but the jury didn't buy it. In 2021, Stanley Ford was convicted on all charges. The judge called it one of the most cold, calculated acts he'd ever seen. Stanley was sentenced to life in prison without parole. The man who called 911 was the killer all along. If you want more real cases that sound like movies but are 100% true, hit that subscribe button.